Hiya. Today I thought I'd go through a few little tips and ideas for where to place your eyeshadow. I think in particular at Christmas you maybe got a new eyeshadow palette with loads of different colours in it, and I just thought I'd give you some suggestions of where to put each colour. So it's not necessarily specific to one palette, you can grab whatever you've got at home. So I would invite you to go and grab one and a few different brushes and essentially just establish kind of a light, medium and dark colour within your eyeshadow palette. I'm going to start with, let me find a small little brush here, or I'm going to find something nice and fluffy, and I'm going to take a kind of champagne colour as my first one. Now, just to show you, I'm using the It Girl Beauty book from this year, so if you did happen to get that one for Christmas, you can work along using it, but as I say, whichever colours you've got are going to be lovely. So I'm going to take, first of all, kind of a neutral shimmer shade that is similar to my skin tone. So whichever kind of shimmer that you have that might be close to your complexion, this is the one to use. And I'm going to take that just on the brow bones and in the inner corners of the eyes. This is kind of similar to a TikTok video I made yesterday. And if you are on TikTok, my name on there is Rose Gallagher Beauty. I absolutely love it. Just come over there. I just feel like when I'm doing these in real time, I'm going to go in with some eyeliner while I'm talking to you. When I'm doing these in real time, obviously you kind of have to wait for each step to be done. Whereas on TikTok, you can almost summarise just the important bits and say 15 minutes worth of things in, 30 or 60 seconds. Now, I'm going in with my liner first, so that to get into that tight line, if you want to lift your lid a little bit to get right in there, I've got hair somewhere on this brush, I think, you're not going to disrupt the eyeshadows you're about to put on the lid. So I've gone in there and you'll notice I've gone in with a kind of coppery brown. This is one of the Peaches liners. Let me double check. It's Sphinx. But as well, if you're looking to add a bit more definition and black feels a bit too harsh for you, just take one of your favourite colours in a bit of a dark version of it, and that will add all of the definition without feeling as strong. Okay, so I'm going to go back in with the same colour on the same brush. And if I just rest, you can see kind of that natural crease in my eye. I'm just going to take this colour up to that crease. And essentially, what I'd love to kind of show you here is where to put each colour, so that if you're wearing lots of different colours, for example, they don't spill onto each other and they each have their own place, so that you can really see each and every colour having its moment in your eyeshadow look. Now, if you see, I'm kind of tilting my head down to get right up to that crease. But when I look forward on, I've got much less lid space, but that's okay. I just want to make sure everything's covered, and I'm going to look forward on in particular for the next step. So next, let me show you actually. I'm going to take this kind of coppery shade, which matches the eyeliner. And I'm going to take that on a fluffy brush. This is Amy Connolly's The Taperer. And I'm just going to really gently go above that crease. So it's not going onto that shadow I've already applied. It's just going above it. Now, I'm not going to do anything too sharp today. I'm kind of going to just touch on the basics. And then depending on how intense you wanted your makeup to be, or how, polished, you could absolutely fine tune all of these areas. I'm just going to have a little look in the mirror behind me, or I'll go on this side so you can see what I'm doing. Do you know something? It is 2 p.m. and I'm by the window and there's already no sun, and I've got the ring light on, which is a bit of a shame because sometimes the light can kind of play tricks and make it look not ideal. But like looking at it in the mirror, I can see it's actually quite blended, whereas that looks like pandemonium. So you have to trust me on this one, it looks fine. Okay, second colour is above that crease. I'm now going to take a little pencil brush. I used this brush yesterday on the same colours, so I'm not too worried. If you were using different colours, I'm just going to take a palette to look into. If you were using different colours, I'd always give them a bit of a clean in between. But because I'm just replicating something I did yesterday with the same kind of shades, I haven't actually given them a wash yet, quite frankly. Now, I've tied that together and flicked this line upwards a tiny bit. This is a little peaches technique. I'm now going to go back over that on the top and take some of that colour, nice and generously, I would say, in a sweeping motion out the way. Got a bit of drop down, I'll go into that in a moment. And I'm just going to create a nice little smoulder that takes me from, gone a little bit too far actually, but that's okay. It's quite good to show these things sometimes and show how easy it is to resolve. I just want that to give a nice little smoky outer corner, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. And again, I kind of want to marry that little intensity up to that socket, and I'm going to buff those together using the original fluffy brush. And what I would say is the more that you deepen and intensify that outer corner, the more of this kind of feline finish that you get. But I'm going to keep mine really soft for today. Now, one tiny thing I am going to do, I'm going to go back in with the brown and just make sure that corner is feeling nice and brown. And again, we're not stepping onto that champagne colour. We're giving each little shade its own moment to shine. And I'm going to again go back in with that brush and just make sure everything's married up nicely together. And then when I've reached this phase, I'm going to take the same brush. I'm going to go in with a bit of black, and I'm going to take this just on the outer corners of the lashes. Now, if you really massage this into that lash line, it helps, you know, if you want something really, by the way, sorry, I should have said, I'm taking everything first onto my hand. Look how black that liner is. If I'd gone in with loads of that straight away, I might have got the shock of my life. So I'm taking the excess off, going in gently, and I can always build it. Sorry, I'm jumping from one point to another. What I was starting to get excited to say was, if you're someone that struggles with eyeliner or gel liners, liquids, that kind of thing, I think you'll love a little bit of black shadow or a powdered liner like this, because that has just created that kind of winged lift and finish. And I've tickled the tiniest bit of black shadow. And even better, by the time I've got some mascara on this, you're not going to see kind of any lines or notice that it looks especially black. It just gives that intensity and creates the illusion of that volume right where you want it. And you'll notice as well, I'm not going all the way in particular, if your lids have maybe dropped a little bit more recently, or you feel like you have more of a hooded eye shape, just focus on these outer corners, and that way you've got all of that definition, and then you can still see, say for me, when I relax, if I'd gone really thick with black all the way in there, you'd barely see this champagne colour, but because I've left it fresh, I've got all my lifts going on, and you can still see that champagne-y shade. Now, this side is driving me a bit mad. I'm just going to correct it. Another thing it's worth bearing in mind is symmetry might not be like the absolute default way to do it. Like, I was putting those on quite evenly, but I think I need a little bit more on one side because that eye is a slightly different shape. So things like that are always good to bear in mind, and you'll kind of get to know the more you do your own face. Okay, I'm going to go in with some lash curlers. I'm trying to remember, I think I showed you these yesterday. These are the Doll Beauty ones. And I love that the handle is nice and big. And I never used to be bothered about curling my lashes. But just over the last few months, obviously we've all been experimenting a bit more at home. And I really see such a big difference now when I do it. So it'd be helpful if I'd left a mascara out for myself. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to go in with loads of mascara. So just to recap, sorry, I should have said, your light shade, your medium shade, your darkest shade. Try that kind of shape and technique with whichever palette you already have at home. One of the things I'm always really keen to kind of explain is I love using lots of different things for doing these videos. And for my job, I get to try new things when they come out, and I think it's always nice. Let me just wipe my hands while I carry on. I think it's always nice to be able to say like, oh, I've used that. If you're thinking about it, it's good, it's not the best, whatever my thoughts might be. But ultimately, you can just use the tips and techniques with whatever you have at home. I never want you to think I'm saying go out and buy a load of new stuff, or this will only work with set things. Because let's be honest, I think lots of us have so much makeup. And sometimes it's just been in your makeup bag for ages and you're not reaching for it as much. And then you go to use it again another day and you forget how much you loved it. Now, top tip that I'm always inspired to say, because I always make a mess, but if you get any drops of mascara anywhere, just wait for them to dry and then they'll be much easier to tackle. There we go. And then I've got a few minutes left. I'm going to do a quick lip. I wonder what I am going to do. I have a bit of lip balm on already. I tell you what I'm going to use. This is Amy Connolly's Sculpted. She does these lipsticks and liners in a little duo, really nice. And the size of the lippy is quite small, so you can get around quite easily. But I'm gonna start with a bit of lip liner all over. This is the darker one. I think I had a lighter one yesterday. Let me just see if I have this lovely pinky one. I don't think I've got it to hand. I'll show you it another day. Anyway, the liner, I'm going to go all over. Now this isn't coming up really, really strong, just because I've got loads of lip balm on already. But it's still building beautifully. And as you can see, I'm kind of keeping things as they are by the Cupid's bow, and then everywhere else just going mad. There we go. And then one last little tip I'm actually going to show you. I think you can tell already which one of these lipsticks is my favourite. But if you got any palettes like this with lipsticks in them, I would always scoop a little bit out using the back of a brush. I know this looks really messy, but it's a hygienic way to do it and a really nice way to just get a decent amount out. I'm going to use this little brush to go on the cheeks. And then the best way to make sure that your lipstick and your blusher matches is to use the same thing for both. So this is the brush I've just used to do my foundation before I started. So there's still like a little bit of excess foundation on there, which is a good thing. And then I'm just going to brush a little bit of that, press it on rather than rub it, because I don't want to remove any coverage. Just give myself a nice little flush, and I'm going to go back in with that original brush and the original eyeshadow shade. Just take a little bit along the cheeks. So there we have it. I hope you enjoyed. And if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll come back to you. I'll talk to you soon.